They cannot extinguish this innate, embedded love. It's like, it's not always revealed. It's like embedded in your heart, like the love for yourself. Not always revealed, but it's there, and the moment it's challenged, there it is. שיש בכל נפש מישראל בטבע. That is present in every Jewish soul, says the Rebbe, בטבע, by nature. Good evening. Tonight is the eve of the 3rd of Mar Cheshvan. We are just experiencing in a very jolting way, Yaakov halach ledarko, and we're going to learn together the Maimar of Maim Rabim from the Sefer of Torah Ohr of the Alter Rebbe. And I would like, with your permission, to dedicate the shiur, first of all, to our friend Maras Orna Bas Chaim Alea Shalom, and also to, if I may add to that, also all the Kedoshim that were murdered or killed or died al Kiddush Hashem, meaning just because they were Yidden. So it should be for their Aliyas Neshama. Those who are kidnapped, it should stand for their schus, that it should be released very soon by Hashem himself in a miraculous way and come home, back home, whole and safe. So too regarding the wounded, we have unfortunately so many of them, and they should be healed in a miraculous healing, in a speedy healing and complete healing. Refuah Shleima, Teku Miyat Mamash, and all of the families of those who are in hostage, or those who passed away, or those who are injured. Hashem should send them His consolation, and they should feel our love, and we should be together in this time and witness very, very soon the ultimate victory of the Geula Mitzvah Shleima, and that will include the complete eradication of Hamas. Now it's in our Chitas, Mal'a Haaretz Hamas. So Hashem is taking care of that, Be'ezras Hashem, and hopefully this learning the Maimar together will be a little addition from our part. And thanks for joining. So this Maimar was said, Maim Rabim, the Alter Rebbe said it Taf Kuf Samach Ches, which is 1807 in Shklov. And every Rebbe since then said this Maimar and added from his light to this Maimar. A famous one was the Hemshech Maim Rabim of the Rebbe Maharash, that the Friedrich Rebbe instructed that this was the first Maimar from the Rebbe Maharash, the first Hemshech that was printed, instructed by the Friedrich Rebbe, previous Rebbe, to be printed in what we call Osios Merubaos, in not just as a copy of one of the writers of the Maimar, of the copier, rather than it should be really printed. And the Friedrich Rebbe had a Maimar, the Rebbe, Tafshin Lamed Ches, spoke from, I guess still from his room, this Maimar and earlier also. In any case, this Maimar is very strengthening in terms of helping us to set up the right kind of awareness and consciousness when we face the Maim Rabim of this world. So let's begin. Be'ezras Hashem. So this is in Likutei Torah, Parshas Noach, and page Ches Amud Gimel. I'm using the help of Hasidus Mevueres because they did a nice job structuring it. They divided it to 8 prakim, 8 chapters, and I will follow that because it's very nicely structured and presented here, and add what I can add. And it's not the first time we are learning this Weimar, but since it's Divrei Elokim Chaim, there are always new things that come up. So Be'ezras Hashem. The first chapter that the Rebbe is opening with is talking about the fire of the divine love, which is embedded and coined in the heart of every Jewish person, and the fact that it cannot be extinguished by the tirdos, by the worries and being occupied and concerned with parnasa, with sustenance. We will broaden the idea of what sustenance means. I'm sorry for a second, I'm going to mute everyone, and you can, you are welcome to unmute yourself if you want to participate in the discussion or add something gesundheit. So, but we will broaden the inyan of Parnasa to understand what it means in a broader way so we can apply all the principles here to our life right now and always. And let's dive right in. מים רבים לא יוכלו לכבוס את האהבה. Great waters cannot extinguish the love. ונהרוס לא ישטפוה, and rivers cannot wash it away. אם ייתן איש אסכול הון ביתו באהבה, בוז יבוזו לו. If a person will give the whole worth of all the treasures of what he accumulated in his home for this love, trying to exchange this love for all the money in the world, Boz Yavuzalo, he will be laughed at. Nothing can take away this love. So this is a pasuk from Shir HaShirim, the Song of Songs, the song of the Jewish soul towards its beloved Hashem. And in Perek Hey, pasuk Zayin, Shlomo HaMelech, King Solomon, is bringing this pasuk that comes to describe the love of the Jewish people to Hashem, to God. There's nothing in the world, even Maim Rabim, even these great waters, cannot annul, cannot extinguish and put out this fire of this love. And even if a person will give all the money of his bias, of that he accumulated to any Jew, to that in the hope that can be in exchange of or put out or be stronger than the love that a Jew has to Hashem, Boz Yavozulo, he will be laughed at. That he didn't manage to understand that this love cannot be bought, cannot be put out, cannot be annulled. V'tzarech lahavin. So we need to understand, the Rebbe is saying, why the pasuk has to, what is this chidush here? That Mayim Rabim will not be able to extinguish this love. First of all, Mayim Rabim, Ava, this love is a midah shebalev. What is this Mayim Rabim? As the Rebbe Marash is asking also in his Hemshech. So you have to say, the Rebbe Marash explains, that here and the Alter Rebbe himself will explain that Mayim Rabim is a metaphor. It's a metaphor to something that you might think, or you could think, that would have the power to do away, to put out, to extinguish this love. הנה מים רבים הם כל תרדוס הפרנסה והמחשבות שבענייני עולם הזה. Says the Rebbe, מים רבים are all the worries about sustenance, about parnasa, about livelihood, and the thoughts of worldly matters. That Maim Rabim, we have two inyanim here, the Maim Rabim, the great waters, and these rivers. That Maim Rabim are all these worries that we are sunk in, that surround us. And let's expand a little bit the idea of parnasa. It's not just, what career I have and what job I have and if I'll get the check, on time and what account it will go to. It means all my sustenance, all my needs. There is a constant worry about will my needs be met, whether it is begashmius or beruchnius. It's about survival. So we are like surviving in a big ocean of worries of how to deal with this world on many levels, many ways. And then these neharos, these rivers of thoughts. Thoughts are flowing in in our minds like rivers that have the water has power of flowing water that can sweep your whole self with them. Rahman al-Islam. So being in the goof, in the body, in this world, and then surviving and dealing with sustenance in many ways, beruchnius as well, swaying between the fact that Hashem is expecting us to be involved in our parnasa and to be engaged, and at the same time, not to think at all that we are the ones that are giving, that are causing and are creating this parnasa. It all comes from Him. So we have a lot to deal with when we are dealing with this world. Nevertheless, ve'im kol zeh, says the Rebbe, lo yuchlu lechabos es ha'ahava. All these anxieties, these thoughts, these intense occupations of our mind in surviving this world in many ways, and parnasa, and making sure that our needs and the needs of our close ones are met, it all takes a lot out of us. And is very engaging on daily basis, moment by moment. And that includes all our physical activities as well. And nevertheless, im kol zeh, says the Rebbe, they cannot extinguish this innate, embedded love. שהוא בחינת האהבה המסוסרת. This is a hidden love. It's not always revealed. It's like embedded in your heart, like the love for yourself. Not always revealed, but it's there. And the moment it's challenged, there it is. But it's always there. So too we have this constant embedded hidden love to Hashem, שיש בכל נפש מישראל בטבע, that is present in every Jewish soul, says the Rebbe, בטבע, by nature. So אף על פי, even though the worries of parnasa are in a manner of מים רבים that threaten to overflow and to sweep away our mind and our heart, nevertheless, they do not have, no matter how overwhelming they are not a threat and cannot annul this natural love to Hashem that is hidden deep in the heart of every Jewish soul. And this comes מבחינת נפש האלוקis. It comes from the godly soul שטבעה לעלות ולהיכלל תמיד למעלה כשלהבת העולם מאליה. This natural love that is embedded in every Jewish person comes from the divine soul, the nefesh ha'elokis that each one has, that its nature is that is constantly drawn to Hashem with a constant yearning and desire to be one with Him, to merge with Him. Like the nature of fire, of a flame of fire that constantly goes up. And this is what it says also in Mishle, the same Shlomo HaMelech, Ner Hashem Nishmas Adam, that neshama of a person is like the candle of Hashem. That it has a natural desire to ascend and to cleave to Hashem. You don't have, the Nefesh HaElokis doesn't have to work on arousing Ahavas Hashem and Yiras Hashem. And the Nefesh HaElokis, that's its nature. כמו שכתוב לאל מיני, as it says beforehand in שיר השירים in פסוק ו', רשפיה רשפי אש, שלהבס כה, or ya. The flames of this love, these flames of fire, it's a divine flame. שהיא בחינה שלהבס הבאה מלמעלה. What does it mean, שלהבס כה? That this divine love, this love that the Jewish soul has to Hashem, is like a flame of fire, but it's a divine fire. What does it mean, a divine fire? שלהבס כה, Yud K. It means that it comes מלמעלה, שהיא הנפש האלוקיס. And soon the Rebbe will explain what difference it makes. So this natural love that the Nefesh HaKdosha, the holy neshama of a Jew, has is like a flame of fire that ascends of itself, by itself, naturally, and it's a divine flame. From where does it come? Because shekodem islabshusa baguf hagashmi, because before the neshama was invested in a physical body, hayta ne'nes miziv hashchina. This divine soul was enjoying the radiance and the presence of the Shekhinah, of the divine. והייתה מיוחדת בתכלס הייחוד באין סוף ברוך הוא. And the neshama was in a condition of being completely one with the infinite godliness. So in the state of the neshama, before it came down to be enclosed in the body, was like there was nothing concealing, nothing covering up its mahus, its nature, its essence, which is divinity. Chelek Eloka mima'al mamash. The neshama is part of Hashem. But there it's bisgalus before it's invested in the body. And therefore, the neshama was completely one with the Shekhinah. Velazois. But that has an after effect, says the Alter Rebbe. גם אחר הסלבשותה בגוף הגשמי, לעסוק בעניינים גשמיים, שהם הנקראים מים רבים, even after the soul is invested in a physical body, to be engaged in physical matters, which are called these great waters, these enormous waters. אם כל זה לא יוכלו לכבוסה. Nevertheless, even though this world is very overwhelming in many ways and takes over in many ways and has a lot of powers that have a lot of effects on us, nevertheless, they do not have the power to extinguish this love. מלהיות תמיד בבחינת אהבה ותשוקה נפלאה, לעלות ולהיכלל למעלה. Nothing can stop the soul from being always in a manner of love and yearning, and it's a wondrous yearning, it's not a rational yearning, to be ascending and to be included in the divine. Why is it? Because this was the condition of the soul before it came to be invested in this world. So it still has a yearning to go to that original state before it came into the body, where it was one with the Elokus, with godliness. And because of this Maim Rabim of all these worries of Parnasa cannot put it out. You might ask, what do you mean? How can you say that this world and what we go through in this world doesn't dim and doesn't weaken, and at times looks like it puts out this love or is stronger than that love, and at least dims it and covers it up? How can you say that? So the Rebbe says the reason is because this is Shalhevet Ka. It is a divine flame. Meaning like this, there is a type of love that a person can create with his own mind. He is reflecting in the Lukus, he is meditating, he is thinking deeply, and as such, step by step, he can create Abbas Hashem based on his perception of what godliness is and how beneficial God is and how it is the source of all existence. You have many meditations that the mind can do and can give birth or can produce a love to Hashem. That is love that is created through our human conscious tools. And that type of love, take, can be overwhelmed and extinguished by the overwhelming powers of this world that threaten us and create worries and anxiety and distract our mind, deviate it from the path of bitachon and being connected to Hashem and having tranquility. I can go on and on. But this, says the Rebbe, is another love. It's a flame that is a divine, Shalhevet Ka, Yud Kei, Ya. That means that it's created by God. You didn't create this love, and therefore you cannot put it out either. And all the tumult that you make in the world cannot put it out. Nobody can put it out. Nothing can put it out, because it's a love that is created by God Himself. To conclude this first parak, the Rebbe is saying that every person, every Yid has a very deep connection with HaKadosh Baruch Hu that is not depending on his avodah. It's not conditional. It is always present and embedded deeply in his heart. And it's there no matter what state he will find himself in. And it's not in the power of man to extinguish it. And because of this connection to Hashem, that is a natural love to Hashem, each and every Jew is ready to be moiser nefesh on Kiddush Hashem when he is really tested. As you see now, our soldiers. Now the Rebbe will continue and bring us closer to the main point that this Maimar is making. And the point is that not only that the overwhelming, at times cruel and at times abusive and at times demonic, and I can go on, all the negative forces in this world are really, and the injustices and so on and so forth. Not only that, nevertheless, all these forces do not have the power to extinguish this special bond and love that the Jewish soul has to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, no matter how challenging it is, but even more so, ve'adraba, says the Rebbe, al yedei hislabshusa b'mayim rabim hanal, through the soul being now invested in these mayim rabim, which mean to be engaged in all physical matters and the worries of sustenance and so on, and survival and so on, יכולה להגיע למדרגה היותר גבוהה או יותר גבוה מקודם שירדה לעולם הזה. As a result of that, the neshama is able to reach a higher level than it was holding by before it came into this world. Higher than the state that we described before, that it was one with godliness. Even higher than that, as will be explained. So it's dafka, particularly, the Rebbe says, to the neshama coming down to this world, to be challenged and be threatened by this mayim rabim of Tirdos HaParnasa in Chulu, Dafka in this state, when the neshama is still devoting itself to be engaged in avodas Hashem the way Hashem wants, the way HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants, the neshama can reach Ahavas Hashem, which is greater than what the neshama was experiencing before, when it was in Gan Eden, before it came down to a body. A higher level than that love, as will be explained at length. So let's conclude the first chapter. The first chapter is that Mayim Rabim are the Tirdos HaParnasa, the words about sustenance, and they do not have the power to extinguish the fire of this natural love that Bnei Yisrael have to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Why? Because the mahus of the Jewish soul is godliness. The nature, the essence of the Jewish soul is godliness. And before it came down to be invested in the body, it was one with God and one with godliness. And therefore, even after the neshama is invested in a body, it still always remains in a condition of this wondrous love to Hashem, and it is expressed, the nature of this love is that it's a divine flame, shalheves kar. And even though the worries of Parnasa and the events and the matters of this world are very confusing and very bothersome and are very overwhelming, nevertheless, it's not possible for this love to be extinguished because it's a divine love. And not only that, but on the contrary, those challenges are affecting an elevation in the neshama that now it's going to experience a type of love to Hashem that is even higher than what it experienced when it was before being invested in the body. Now the second parak, if you want to divide it the same way to 8 parts. Now the Rebbe talks about the water of the waters of the Mabul, the flood, which are called Mei Noach by the Navi. And Mei Noach, the Rebbe will explain that Noach means Naicha de Rucha in Aramaic, which means the tranquility, the peace of mind, of the spirit. How come the Mabul is called Mei Noach? By Yeshayahu. So from this chapter, the second chapter of this Mayim Rabim and on, the Rebbe will explain at length how Dafka, through the challenges of Parnasa and the worries of this world, the neshama can reach this Avas Hashem on a higher level that it originally possessed. והנה בחינת מים רבים הנ"ל נקראים מי נוח. This מים רבים, these great waters, overwhelming waters, are called מי נוח, the waters of Noah. וכמו שכתוב in ישעיהו, chapter 54, נ"ד, פסוק ט', אשר נשבעתי מעבור מי נוח עוד על הארץ. Hashem speaks and says, I swore that I'm not going to let the waters of Noach passing over the land anymore. כן נשבעתי מקצוף עלייך ומגעור בך. So too I am swearing not to be koitzef on you, not to be furious at you, and not to rebuke you in a way that will wipe you away. When we understand that Mei HaMabul are also called Mayim Rabim, Tirdos HaParnasa, and we want to understand how they can get an elevation, how they can create an elevation in the soul itself, we need to understand why these Mayim Rabim are called by the Navi Yeshayahu, who is a Navi of a consolation, Mei Noach. The water, Mabul, the flood, is the waters of Noach, and not the waters of the Mabul. Should be called Mei HaMabul, the waters of the Mabul, not the water of Noach. Ki hine, says the Rebbe, Noach hu naicha derucha. Noach means, as the Medrash says, naicha derucha, the rest of the soul, the tranquility, the peace of the soul, of the spirit. So naicha means menucha, nachas ruach, rest, tranquility. שהיא בחינת שביתה, כאדם השובס ממלאכתו. It's like resting after doing work. You cease to work and you rest. וכמו שכתוב, וישבוס ביום השביעי. As it says about Hashem, that he rested on the seventh day. ותרגומו, and Targum Onkelos translates, ונח ביום השביעה. He was resting, nach, Noach. So Noach, here we see that the Rebbe is making a connection between Noach and Shabbos. Just as Shabbos is a menucha from the work of the 6 days, so too may Noach. Why the Mabul is called the waters of Noach? Because the Mabul also brought some kind of rest to the unsettled world, unsettled chaotic world. ומה שכתוב נוח, נוח בייס פעמים. So now we know that there is a connection between Noach and Shabbos. Hashem rested on Shabbos, and these are called the waters of Noach. But it says, אלה תולדות נוח, נוח איש צדיק תמים היה בדורותיו. So the pasuk that opens our parsha, Parshas Noach, mentions Noach twice. אלה תולדות נוח, נוח איש צדיק תמים היה בדורותיו. Noach, בית פעמים, says the Rebbe. How come Noach is mentioned twice in this pasuk? Say Chazal, הם נייחא דאילי ונייחא דתתאי. The Medrash and the Zohar says also that we are talking about 2 levels of Noach, 2 levels of Naicha, of rest, 2 levels of tranquility. The Naicha ba'elyonim, the Naicha of the higher realities, and Naicha b'tachtonim, and the Naicha, the rest and the tranquility in the lower realities. Nachas ruach lemala and nachas ruach lemata. Shehi, spiritually, as the Zohar explains, b'chinas Shabbos tata v'Shabbos ilah. There is a lower Shabbos and there is a higher Shabbos. Shiyeh la'asid, shenikra yom shekulo Shabbos. The Shabbos ilah, the higher level of Shabbos, of rest, of tranquility in the world, will be by the Geula. In the future to come, shenikra yom shekulo Shabbos, it will be a day that will be all Shabbos, Mashe'en ken Shabbos tata, which is not the case of the lower Shabbos, eino kulo Shabbos kasher yisba'er. It's not all Shabbos like the higher level of Shabbos, as will be explained. So now the Rebbe continues to explain, because we still have the question that the Rebbe needs to answer. All right, we hear you, you're talking about Shabbos ilah, Shabbos tata, and you're comparing between Noach and Shabbos and so on. Fine. Shabbos menucha, Noach. Okay, v'yanuchu bo. But still, how do you call this Mabul, which looks like such a destructive situation? You can call it, how can you call it Mei Noach? There must be something beneficial if this is waters that is called waters of peace and tranquility. כהנה לכאורה אינו מובן עניין המבול. So now the Rebbe goes into this flood. And the Rebbe says, this whole inyan of the flood is not understood. שאם היה רק להעביר או לשחס האנשים החוטאים, because if the purpose of the Mabul was only to eliminate and to destroy the wicked people that lived then, corrupted people, למה הוא צריך לבחינת רעש גדול כזה? Why did Hashem need such a big tumult, such a big noise, of such a big מים רבים, מבול? והלא ברגע אחד היה ביכולת השם להעבירם אף בלא המבול. In one moment, in 1 second, Hashem could destroy them without a Mabul, the whole thing of 40 days and 40 nights and a whole year and until the water came down. Who needed this whole tumult? Hashem could, a little virus, we know, Hashem can destroy in over 24 hours. He could, over 1 moment he can, if he wants, and quietly without this whole drama. אך באמס היה המבול בא לטהר את הארץ. But in truth, the Mabul had, the flood had a purpose, and that was to purify the land. שנאמר כי מלאה הארץ חמס, ונסקלקלה מאוד, והיה נצרך לטהרה. That באמס, in truth, the Mabul came to purify the earth, because as the Pasuk says, כי מלאה הארץ חמס, in our parsha, the earth became filled with corruption and robbery and aggression and sin. ונסקלקלה מאוד, and the earth became very spoiled, very corrupt, very destroyed and corrupted. והיה צריך לטהרה. And now the earth itself needed to be purified. So through the sins of the chotaim that human beings are doing, they're bringing, the Rebbe says, impurity and ungodliness into the earth, like we find in Chet Eitz Hadas, that Hashem cursed the earth. Arura adama ba'avocha. Hashem cursed the earth because of the sin of Adam. And so too the generation of the Mabul, through the sins of the generation, the bad deeds, the evil manner of the people of the generation of the Mabul, it brought into the world spiritual filth and such great impurity that the earth itself became tameh, became defiled. And this is the meaning of what it says, ki mala'ah ha'aretz chamas, that the earth got filled with chamas. Vatishaches ha'aretz. It says also that the earth itself became spoiled. It was destroyed, it was defiled. And now there is a need to purify the earth as well from its impurity. ולזוז בא המבול דווקא, שהוא בחינס מים. And therefore the Mabul came, which is the inyan of water, בכדי לטהר את הטמאים, in order to purify the defiled. שהוא כדוגמת המקווה מי הסאה, שהיא מטהרת את הטמא. It's like a mikvah. I'm sorry, not me'amem. It's like a mikveh that is made out of 40, has to have at least 40 40 measures of Maim Chaim, or living waters, which has the power, when you have 40 the power to purify the impure person. So too the Mabul, כמו כן היה המבול, בא בכדי לטהר את כל הארץ. So too the Mabul came to purify the entire earth, כמו שכתוב, as יחזקאל הנביא says, וזרקתי עליכם מים טהורים וטהרתם, כולו. I will pour upon you pure waters and you will be purified. And therefore HaKadosh Baruch Hu brought dafka the waters of the Mabul to destroy the earth. And he did not destroy the wicked people in another way and faster without this tumult. Because Hamabul were waters of Tara, of purification, in order to remove the spirit of Tuma, of impurity from the land. And just as a mikveh of water, 40 sa, it purifies the impure, so too the waters of the Mabul purified the earth from its impurity. And therefore the Mabul came down for 40 days, Davka, corresponding to the 40 sa of water that a kosher mikveh has to have. So we needed a lot of water to cover the whole world, that it should be enough to purify the world. ולזויס, I'm sorry, נקראים מי נוח. And therefore the flood is called the waters of Noach, שנעשה מזה נייחא דרוחא כולו. Because the outcome was an appeasement and tranquilling of the spirit, which means a rest from the divine anger as well, and a rest from the chaotic, destructive condition of the world. So because the waters of the Mabul affected Tahara, affected purification in the land, and that brought into the world Menucha, Nachas Ruach, rest, the opposite of war between the divine, the godly, and the ungodly. The milchama, the war against evil. It brought rest because it purified a lot of the world. So to conclude the second part, the second chapter of this Maimar, the Maim Rabim, the spiritual Maim Rabim, which are the concerns about survival and sustenance and so on in this world, and so too the literal waters of the flood are called Mei Noach. Noach means the menucha, the restfulness and the appeasement of the spirit. And like menucha and resting from work, like Shabbos. Because the purpose of the Mabul was not just for punishment. The purpose was for that, Hashem could use other means much faster and quieter. The purpose was to purify the land from the impurity and the spiritual filth that the earth absorbed, that the world absorbed as a result of the sinfulness of the people who lived then, and to bring rest and peace into the world like the waters of the mikveh that purify the person and remove his impurity. That was the second chapter. Any comments or questions? Or you want to add something? Very peaceful, Noach kind of crowd. All right, let's move on to the third chapter. Now the Rebbe is beginning to really focus on, what we read in our parsha, that Vatar mateva al pnei hamayim, that the teva that Noach made, the teva that Noach made was uplifted by the water of the Mabul. We are going to focus on the zichuch, on the purification and the elevation that are affecting the person through this Maim Rabim of dealing with this overwhelming world. והנה שיעבוד הפרנסה נקרא גם כן מי נוח. The slavery to the need to sustain yourself. The yoke, the Rebbe called it shiabud, it means subjugated. We are all subjugated to the need to sustain ourselves. That is also called the Mei Noach. So just as the waters of the Mabul are called Mei Noach, Milshon Menucha and rest, because they brought Tahara to the world, so too the Maim Rabim of the warriors of Parnasa are called Mei Noach, because through them one can also come to Naicha Derucha, to the rest of the spirit. כמאמר הז"ל, שבחר לו אברהם אבינו שיעבוד נגד גיהנום. In the Medrash tells us that at the time of Bois Ben Abesarim, the covenant that Hashem made with Avraham Avinu had a choice. Either Bnei Israel will all have to go automatically to Gehenom, or they will have to, this will be replaced by Shiabud Malchios, that they will be in Galus under different regimes and rulers. Simply, literally, it means that Avraham Avinu, of course, chose Shiabud Malchios, and simply it means that as a replacement, as a kapara for the sins, which usually the sins can only be mischaper, they can only be washed through the punishment of Gehenom. Keneged ze, instead of that, Avraham Avinu chose Shiabud Malchios, that's going under the different rulerships of different Malchios. This will be accomplishing the same thing that Gehenom does. And it will be lighter, it will be an easier punishment, it will be purified in an easier way. But according to the Pnimius Ainyanim, to Hasidus, there is something deeper here. שכמו שאי אפשר לנשמה לבוא בגן עדן, לאנוס מזיו השכינה עד שתרד קודם לכן בגיהנום, that just as it is not possible for the neshama to enter Gan Eden and to benefit from the radiance of the presence of the Shekhinah, unless the neshama goes first, at least for a certain time, to Gehenom, as known, the same thing, that the punishment of Gehenom, so the choice of Abraham didn't replace completely, but in major way it did. The neshama goes to Gehenom maximum 11 months, so it's a relatively short time. That's maximum. So matras ha'onesh, the purpose of the onesh in Gehenom is not just to punish, but it is to purify and to polish the nefesh and remove the tumah that got attached to the nefesh through the chet, and through the Gehenom the neshama gets purified. And through this, after that, the neshama is ready to ascend and enter Gan Eden, so it can really benefit from the presence of the Shekhinah. And that is a little Gehenom that the neshama, if it goes through, because as it is in this world, all kinds of chumrius, of materiality, and the coarseness of this physical world attaches itself to the soul. And if there are also some sins, God forbid, then that has to be washed away. And that is what the neshama goes through before it goes up to Gan Eden or into Gan Eden. Okay, Moshe Amru, as it says in the Gemara, Gabe Acher. Acher is Elisha ben Avuya, mutav ledaine velite le'alma de'asi. Mutav de ledaine velite le'alma de'asi. It's better for Elisha ben Avuya to be judged in Gehenom, yet to be able, all the Yisurim in Gehenom that he had to go through because he was a heretic, it was still worthwhile in order to still get into Gan Eden. And also the neshama, before it goes into Gan Eden, and also between the lower Gan Eden and the higher Gan Eden, there's another experience the neshama has to go through in order to, wherever she is, the neshama, the soul, it has to forget the previous reality, the lower reality, in order to ascend and to merge into the new higher reality, because the neshama goes from level to level to level. But the first one is between Olam Hazeh and Gan Eden. And in addition to the Gehenom that has to wash away whatever remains attached to the neshama also has to go through a Nahar Dinur, v'gam litbol benahar dinur. It's a spiritual river of fire that it's, כמו שנשבע במקום אחר, as explained elsewhere, that its purpose is to really make the soul forget any impression and any memory of the type of pleasure that had an effect on it from the lower level of reality. And in this case, at first, from the world, that the neshama should not be weighed down by any pleasures of the world, so it can really fully enter Gan Eden and fully experience the divine presence there. כמו כן על ידי שיעבוד, so too through being subjugated to all kinds of countries and rulerships and regimes and mentalities and cultures and different conditions of being under the rulership of the nations in this world, יכולים לעלות למעלה מעלה למדרגה היותר גבוה. One can ascend, if dealing with it in the right way, one can ascend higher and higher to the highest levels. And just as Gehenom purifies the neshama, so it can benefit from the presence of the Shekhinah, so too the Yisurim of Galus and Shiabud Malchus purify the neshama. More than that, not only that the purification of the neshama through the Yisurim of Galus, it really refines it. So the neshama now is a vessel to absorb the radiance of the Shekhinah. But now the Rebbe is explaining that the neshama can really ascend even to a higher level than it was before it came to the body. והנה שיעבוד, this slavery that Avram Avinu chose, instead of Gehenom, that should be the whole process. אין הפירוש מה שיש עלינו אתה מלך ושנוטל מאיתנו מס. Shiabud doesn't mean that we have a king that rules over us and he taxes us with a heavy tax. No, שגם בזמן בית המקדש היה עלינו מלך ישראל. That even in the time of Beis HaMikdash, when Shlomo, King Solomon was a king, there was heavy taxing. We paid the high tax, והמס היה ביותר. There was heavy taxation. כידוע שחלק עשירי הוא צריך כל אחד ליתן למלך. That every person had to give at least 10% of his income to the king. Rather, what does it mean, שיעבוד? What does it mean that we are enslaved? שבזמן בית המקדש היה קיים, שבזמן שבית המקדש היה קיים, that at the time the בית המקדש was existing, היה נמשך ברכה והשפעה עצומה. There was a tremendous blessing and tremendous flow coming down to the Jewish state, to the Jewish land, עד שארץ ישראל הייתה ארץ זבת חלב ודבש חולו, to the extent that Eretz Israel, the land of Israel, became the land that just as sometimes when the mother, a nursing mother, is engorged with overflow of milk and she's dripping milk, so too the land is dripping with milk and honey. שלא על פי הטבע כלל. And it was the produce, the producing of the land was not natural at all. It was supernatural kind of produce. כמו שכתוב בגמרא סוף מסכת כסובos. There is a tremendous difference between the ashpa of how the chayos and the energy and the shefa, the divine flow, came down when Beis HaMikdash existed and the way and when Jewish people were on their land to the time of Galus is a tremendous difference. Because at the time of Beis HaMikdash existed, the Amshacha of the Bracha and the Shefa in Eretz Israel was with tremendous abundance. So it wasn't Al Pi Teva. And this is the main praise of Eretz Israel. Eretz Zavas Chalav, it flows by itself. You don't have to work hard at all. You don't have to toil. Because it flows with kol tuv, with all good. And therefore, says the Rebbe, ולא היה כלל דאגוס וטירדס הפרנסה. They didn't at all, they were not subjected to worries and concerns about parnasa. And therefore, even at the time Beis HaMikdash was there, היה קיים, even though Bnei Israel then too had to be engaged in parnasa, to sustain themselves. There wasn't yegia in terms of the toil of the nefesh. The mind wasn't distracted, wasn't obsessed with it. They were sitting very securely on their land. They were trusting that the Ashpah will come, and they saw with their own eyes how everything is flowing down upon them without them needing to do that much, and without them needing to be so mentally and emotionally, mentally, personally involved to the extent that it takes over their ability to peacefully serve Hashem. ועתה, but how is it now? יש לכל אחד ואחד יגיעוס ותרדס הפרנסה לעסוק בענייני העולם הזה הגשמי. Now it's not, the reality is not like this anymore. Now each and every one has a lot of worries and concerns about meeting their needs and to sustain for themselves and to engage in worldly matters, this physical world. Why? Because now, in our time, the Ashpah Milamaila is now invested and garbed and enclosed and covered up with a lot of levushim, of garments of Teva. Now it looks like you don't see that the Ashpah comes in a miraculous way like they used to see in the time of Beis HaMikdash. Now it all looks like, listen, guy, you wanna eat? You have to make money. You make money, you have to work hard, and it's all up to you. You are doing it. Now it's all, you have to be sophisticated and you have to keep up, and it's overwhelming what mentality the time of Galus develops, to the extent that people's minds are completely taken over by these needs to keep up with all the worries of Parnasa. So now it looks like you cannot see anymore the connection between the incoming sustenance and its source, its divine source. It looks like each one of us has their own war of sustaining, of meeting my needs. I don't feel the connection to the real source of Parnasa. והוא בחינת מים רבים הנ"ל שנקראים מי נוח. And these are the great waters that are called the waters of Noach, שהוא בחינת נייחא דרוחא. That nevertheless it's called נייחא דרוחא, the rest, the peace of the spirit. Why? Because לפי שעל ידי בחינת מים רבים הנ"ל, מסעלס הנשמה למדרגה היותר גבוה, מקודם הסלבשו סחולו. Because dafka through this experience of these Maim Rabim, the neshama, like the teva that was lifted up on top of the waters of the Mabul of the flood, so too we will see that that brings the neshama on to a higher, that has the power to bring the neshama onto a higher level. And this is the reason why Avraham Avinu chose to have Shiabud and not Gehenom, because there's purification in Gehenom, health and neshama. That is enough. Look at this, what the Rebbe is explaining here. Why did Avraham Avinu choose Shiabud Malchrios rather than taking care of everything through Gehenom? Gehenom now is just a short cleansing process. But in the main thing that makes the neshama, that benefits the neshama, is Shiabud Malchus, is really living in this world and going through all the trials and tribulations of sustenance and parnasa and survival and so on. Yet, why did Avraham Avinu choose Shiabud Malchus rather than Gehenom? We don't have much left. I'm going to finish soon. Because, explains the Rebbe, the Alter Rebbe, the purification in Gehenom helps the neshama only so the neshama can go back. It purifies the neshama just enough so the neshama can go back to how it was before it came down into a group. However, listen to this. The shiabud, the slavery in Tirdas HaParnasa, in Maim Rabim, in this world, through that, the neshama can go even higher than that. That's why Avraham Avinu chose Shiabud Malkius over Gehenom. Because that can bring the neshama to a higher level than she was holding by when she was before coming down to her body. שהייתה רק נהנס מזיו השכינה. What is the difference? What is the difference between how the neshama felt intimately close to godliness before it came down to the body, and how close to Hashem, even closer than the neshama can get as a result of going through Mayim Rabim in this world? What's the difference? Explains the Rebbe that through the purification in Gehenom, שהייתה רק נהנס מזיו השכינה, or let's describe it in a positive way. When the neshama, before the neshama was invested in the body, and when neshama was close to Hashem, what was the neshama close to? שהייתה רק נהנס מזיו השכינה חולו. The neshama was close to godliness, yes. The neshama was aware of the presence of godliness. But what presence? Of Ziv HaShechina, only a radiance from Elokus. Ziv HaShechina. So when neshama was before it coming down to the body, it only benefited from Ziv HaShechina, only a ara, only a radiance from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, but not from HaKadosh Baruch Hu himself. But through Mayim Rabim, the neshama can be elevated to such a level that it can now be intimate with Hashem, not just His light, not just His aspect of light that radiates, but with Hashem Himself. וכמאמר הז"ל, יפה שעה אחת בתשובה ומעשים טובים בעולם הזה, מכל חיי עולם הבא. 1 hour of tshuva and good deeds in this world is better and nicer than the whole Chai Olam Haba. And the explanation is that in the Olam Haba, in the Olam of the Neshama in Gan Eden, before it comes down, the Neshama, as the Rebbe said, benefits and enjoys only the Ziv of the Shechina. But al yedei tshuva and ma'asim tovim in this world, while the person has to be challenged by survival and by sustenance and by overcoming all kinds of enemies, whether it is from inside or from outside, whether they are spiritual or physical. A person is, and yet he is serving Hashem, then a person is zoiche not only to ascend, to be intimately close to the ziv of the Shechina, to the radiance, to the light of the Shechina, but the person is zoiche to be mamash close with God Himself. And that's why Avraham Avinu chose that. לפי שהוא בחינס יתרון האור מתוך החושך דווקא. Why is it? And this is how the Rebbe concludes the 3rd chapter of this Maimar. Because it is so, because this is the principle of the advantage of the special light that it creates, as is created as a result of transformation of darkness. There is a type of light that the light that exists without any darkness, and there is when the choshech itself, the darkness itself, is being transformed and shines. And this is spiritually so. What does it mean? What does it mean in terms of Avodas Hashem? That in such challenges and conditions, if still a Zohar, the Zohar brings that if it's still in such condition, the person is practicing his kafia of the Sitra Achra, then the forces in this world are so tempting, are so overwhelming, are so distracting, are so at times confusing and threatening and so on. The person is still mastering himself and subduing the Yetzer Hara, and devotes himself to do good to the extent that he transforms the evil and the selfish aspect of himself to the good, This produces a special light that comes out of darkness. So Gan Eden and the world to come are places of light and Kedusha without any room for existence of darkness or klipa or ungodliness. But when a person is present in this world, in a matzav of choshech ruchni, of a spiritual darkness, that means that the light of Hashem is covered up with a thick double cover-up, to the extent that the world is full of klippos and full of evil. And evil looks like evil overrides. Nevertheless, a person maintains his integrity and remains mastering his sitra achra, his other side. And he subdues the evil and the selfish in himself. And he turns transforms bad into good, and answers evil with goodness. Then he is transforming choshech to a different kind of light. It's a way greater light than the light that is never challenged by any darkness, which is the highest level of the divine light that is revealed when one goes from darkness of this world to the divine light and of a lit up world. And this is the explanation of the words of Chazal, Yafa sha'a achat b'tshuva ma'asim tovim ba'olam hazeh mikol chayei olam haba. Because in this world, what is revealed in the Nefesh HaAdam is the divine light that comes mitoch hachoshech davka. And this is the naicha derocha, the rest of the tranquility of the spirit that comes through the Mayim Rabim. So to conclude, to sum up this perek of this Maimar, that just as the Mayim of the Mabul purified the land from its impurity, so too the Tirdas of Parnasa purify and refine the person, and therefore Avram Avinu chose that Bnei Israel will be under the condition of Shi'bud Malchios instead of being in Gehenom. Ki Shi'bud elevates the person to a higher level, higher than the way the neshama was before it came down to the body. And this is done through the tirdos and daigos aparnasa and being confronted all of the challenges of this world and needing to deal with this world in a condition of exile from its own natural state of being intimate with God. And these are the Mayim Rabim that are elevating the person to the highest level, higher than the neshama the way it was before he dealt with this world. Because we are dealing with light that is created out of darkness when darkness is being transformed. The light that is there without darkness is the light that shines in Gan Eden. But the neshama, through going through this world, can reach a higher level of light, which is the light of godliness itself, not just a ray, not just a radiance, but it's to touch God himself and to be close with God himself. And this is the special reason why Avraham Avinu chose Shi'bud Malchios. The Rebbe will get more into that, how it's accomplished. Bezras Hashem. So we have 8 prakim, we finished 3. We'll see what we accomplish next week, Bezras Hashem. Any comments or questions?
I have a question. You said there's shefa and then there's hesba. Did you say hesba? Hesba?
Hashpa'ah. It's like shefa.
What is
flow?
What is the difference?
No difference. Hashpa'ah is the same root, shefa.
Oh, okay.
Flow, yeah.
And so
shefa is that which is being transmitted. Hashpa'ah means transmission.
So the actual transmission.
Yeah, that's hashpa'ah.
So I just want to be clear. So Abraham chose to do it this way, and we all coming from Abraham to have to be in this world to with all of its challenges in order to bring out the godly attributes that need to come into this world that could be pretty dark. So if we're gonna chas v'sholem just be part of like the crookedness of it, then that's obviously not the point. That's not what we're supposed to be doing. And I'm imagining that would add more darkness. I'm kind of asking the question, like, just being in this world and having if it's taivas or if it's for power or for money, and any person, Jew or non-Jew, can get into this place of that can be a taiva, chas v'shalom. But if we are in the world and we're trying to be an upright person in a sea of crookedness, then that's is what you're saying, like that's the point, and that's transforming the darkness into light. Is that?
When we are maintaining our integrity in terms of conducting ourselves in a way that we are all ambassadors of divinity, of godliness. Right. We are all channels and conduits of godliness into this world, and we are not. How shall I say? We don't lose our focus and our clarity what we are doing here, and we are realizing that we are expected to serve Hashem in such conditions that look at times so overwhelming and so impassable and so challenging internally and externally. And a person maintains avodas Hashem under such conditions. Avraham Avinu realized that not only that being in this world and being challenged by this world in such a manner will be the effect, the negative of not only that the negative effect of it will be removed, and to the extent that we'll be able to reach the same level as the neshama was holding by before it came to be confused by this world. Not only that, Avraham Avinu realized that there's something special that neshama can gain that he cannot gain in Gan Eden, and it's only in this world. And that is that not only it is getting access to Hashem's
essence?
Light. What does
is
it
that
mean,
light
Hashem's
because
light? Hashem,
is it because
one moment, please.
Sorry.
There is Hashem himself, and there is the interactive aspect of Hashem. So the interactive aspect of Hashem is his light. So it's a big deal. That's what shines in Gan Eden. The Neshama is having tremendous pleasure from it. But it's still not Hashem himself. It's his interactive aspect, the way Hashem deals with the outside. But if you want to meet Hashem the way he is in relation with himself, going to this world will bring you there.
So is it because when we bring out Hashem's attributes, to say kindness, compassion, whatever the Sephirot are, that we bring that out in a world of darkness, when Ra comes at us, then we utilize, say, compassion, that's one with him. So at that moment, we're manifesting that, and we're connecting with him through that Sephirot. Is that what?
Yes.
Is that how? Uh-huh.
Yes, and how, and that means, it means globally, inclusively, all the conducts that we demonstrate under such circumstances. You see what comes out from the Jewish people now, how much love, how much unity, how much faith, how much resource nefesh, how much giving, how much, it's all coming out. Under tremendous and terrible circumstances, where people could be just, each one close themselves in their shell and not talking to anybody anymore.
True, very true. So ultimately, we are, and because when we bring that out in this world under these conditions, then I just want to make it clear that
this world,
we're like basically one with Hashem through doing that. We're like, because
we are getting to bond with Hashem himself, not just his external a part of the external aspect of him that interacts with others, but the way he is in relation with himself, the most authentic
Right.
aspect of who Hashem is himself, without compromise. You know,
Right,
why? And we see there's a very intrinsic, intimate connection between Olam Hazeh and Hashem. And that is that Olam Hazeh, the general feeling in this world is that nothing made it. It runs on its own, and Kol De'alim Gvar, the stronger one takes over. And the reason is because it comes from the essence of Hashem that nothing made it. That's why the general feeling in this world is that nothing made it. Hashem, only the essence of God can create something that doesn't feel its cause, doesn't feel its creator. And
right.
when this world, that its nature is to say, I made myself, I'm running on my own, that nobody runs me. If this world is now changed over to recognize Hashem's values and Hashem's attributes, as you say, and is conducting himself, and we are the deliverers of this message. In this world is choosing to subjugate itself to Hashem and to emulate Hashem. That is an aliyah that is bringing the world right there to the essence of God himself, that doesn't have a cause either. Because any other aspect of Hashem, any giluim of Hashem, any revelation of Hashem are not his essence, are just revelations. But going through this world enable us to deal with him, not just his revelations.